Okay, so this is where we left off last time. And we've got to write some code now. All right, so let's go to code. Now, a really good piece of practice is to make sure your code is commented. You've got lots of comments on there explaining what to do. One of the things that I always do is write my name at the top of the code, put the date in, and a just general comment about what we do. So this is my computer science JavaScript. Okay, now I'm now going to divide my code up into chunks. So I'm going to have my declare variables. I'm going to have a chunk where I'm going to put my functions. I'm going to explain what functions are in just a second. I'm going to put my navigation all in one place. And then eventually in here will be the code for my from Deanery code. All right, so that will go from when I press my button just here. Okay, so first things first, let's get some of the navigation. Great. So on my home page over here, I've got a button called HFD. All right, and when I press that button, I want to go from this page to this page. So what I'm going to do, if you don't know JavaScript, up in here, UI stands for user interface. So anything to do with putting things on the screen or taking off the screen are all up here. Okay, and the button one is this. Okay, so on event button. All right, and we're going to do this in the navigation section because this is the bit for moving from one screen to another. So here, the button that I'm looking for here is the button that's on the home page and is going to take us to the From Deanery page. And that's why it's really important to make sure your labels are in there. We're going to have loads and loads of buttons by the end of it. We're going to have loads of things. We're going to have to scroll up and down here. And if we start having label 2, label 3, it makes life really difficult. So if I click the Deanery button, then it's going to do all the code that's inside here. Well, I've only got one simple piece of code that I want it to do. I want it to set the screen, which is all the way down the bottom, third one from the bottom. All right, and what screen do I want it to go to? Again, don't type it in because you'll get your capital letters wrong. I want it to go to the home screen. Okay, I also now, back up here, I've got a button on my From Deanery screen here that I want to go home. So that's my other navigation one. So when I press the button that's on the FD screen and home, then I want to go to the home screen. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to press run over here. It takes me to my home screen. If I press this button here, click, it should take me to my FD screen. Now, why hasn't it done that? It's because I've been a pillock and I put my home screen on there and I should have put FD screen on here. So I've got to reset now, I've got to run it, and I've got to press that button, and bingo, I go to that page. Nothing else is working on here yet, but if I press the home button, I should go back, and there's my From Deanery again. Okay, so I can reset that now, and I can start working the next things. So the next stuff I'm going to do is declare some variables. I know some of these that I'm going to need. All right, and we use the VAR, and this is the only place where we use the VAR is when we're declaring variables. So this one here is just for declaring variables. And I'm going to have one called Den. All right, and Den's going to be a number. So I'm going to set Den to 0, and Den is going to be for my Deanery. It's going to be where my base 10 numbers are. I don't want that one. That was silly. I want a VAR one. I only want the VAR one here. I'm going to have one called bin, and that's where my binary is going to go. Now, binary is going to be a collection of letters, so it's going to be a string. It's going to be a collection of ones and zeros. So we want to treat it as a string. So I'm going to put it speech marks, empty string. I'm going to do the same thing and I'm going to need 2 here. I'm going to have hex A, which is an empty string, and hex B, because we're going to go up to 255, and that's with our denary, and our binary is going to give us 8 characters, and that's going to give us a hex A and a hex B. Now, something else that I know that I'm going to need in a bit is a checker. Okay, and my checker, I'm going to put 128 so far, and I'm going to explain that in a moment. Okay, so now I'm only going to use this one down here, assign a variable, and this one up here, look, declare a variable. So I only declare a variable up here, but down here, this is where I'm going to assign letters and numbers to that. Okay, so let's go and explain what I want to happen. What I want to do, when you go to this page, I want you to type in something in here, a number in here. I want you to then press the button here, and I want the binary of whatever number you typed in here to appear here, and the hex to appear here. So we're going to need to write something to convert our denary into binary. We're going to have another one where I've got a binary here, which we want to convert into denary and into hex. And we're going to have another one which we're going to have hex in here. We're going to convert that into binary and denary. Okay. So what I'm going to use is something called a function. And the reason I'm going to use a function is because I want to be able to call this function from lots of different places in my code. And I don't want to write it 3 times. I just want to write it once, and each time I do it. So here is my functions one. It's in green. This is where I declare my function, but I don't have a number to it. We'll just do something here. This one, I'm going to define a function with a parameter. Okay, so my function is going to be called Den2Bin, and I'm going to pass it a number that I want to convert from a denary number into binary. And I'm going to use this function button at the bottom, and I'm going to return whatever's in the binary, and it's going to come back to my document.